Last couple videos got pretty complicated with all those different modes and switches. So how about a nice analog dirt pedal with basically 9 knobs. All right, let's do this. It's the DOD Boneshaker. I'll admit it, when I first saw this popping up, a black distortion pedal, it's called the Boneshaker, I made some assumptions, and it might work for the chugga chuggas, but once I spent some time with it, I discovered a really interesting and versatile distortion pedal that really just wants to make you happy. Let's start with the basics and then get into the fancy bits. Level is the overall loudness, and distortion is how much dirt you want in there. And check out the range on this knob from low to high. It's got quite the interesting range. Right around the middle, it starts to get a lot more compressed and saturated. And then in the last 10% or so, it really gets noisy and out of control. But you'll see in a bit that there's quite a lot we can do with that range. So what about this depth knob? The instructions say it adjusts the low frequency growl of extended range instruments. I can get the need for that. And I tried to catch an example of it by going to drop D. Didn't notice anything there, and I don't have any fancy 8-string guitars, but I do have a bunch of basses, so I tried that out. Still not hearing it. Maybe with a synthesizer? So, I don't know, but extended range guitars also aren't really my thing. I'm sure it does something useful for someone, and I'm sure someone will point out that it's obviously tightening up the low-end lattice in the backfeed snrub zone. Cool, I'm glad it's helpful, but let's get down to the EQ. You know those knobs that are like double knobs? This makes up the semi-parametric EQ, and hold up a bit. Semi-parametric? Am I getting ripped off here? So here's the deal. A full-featured parametric EQ, like this one in Logic, lets you choose bands of frequencies, like this, and then you can increase or decrease their loudness, like this. And you get that with these three knobs down here. For example, this inner knob over here increases or decreases the level of the lows, just like this with the parametric EQ. And the outer knob lets you dial in exactly where those frequencies you want to boost or cut are, just like this with the parametric EQ. The reason this is called a semi-parametric EQ is you don't get quite that full set of controls. For example, you can't shape the Q or bandwidth of the adjustment like this, but you've still got plenty of control down here. So what can you do with all that control? Well, obviously you can nudge things around to balance frequencies between your guitar and your amp and other pedals you're using, but it can also be used to craft some fairly different overall tones. Let's get back to the lab for that. These are the settings that I used for the first demo that and obviously there's a lot of overdrive here. The mids are scooped just a little bit, and the highs are pushed up, and they're also shaped a little bit. And I like that this gives me a nice balanced sound, and the bass doesn't come in and make it too boomy. So here's that riff again. And then the lead part, I'm not going to bring in the flanger again, but I just switched my Jazzmaster to the neck pickup. A little bit more hum there. I keep this exactly the same, and I just go. Before I go or whatever I did there. But the point is, same settings on the pedal. I'm just switching it up on the guitar. Let's take a look at something else. This is a lower distortion example. You can see I brought this down, brought the level up to compensate for that. Didn't do anything too crazy with the EQ, just slight tweaks to taste. And this lets me get something kind of warm and growly without being over the top. So I can do like a... So it doesn't have to be all crazy all the time, but let me show you something else. Lots of distortion on this one, but look what I did with the middle EQ knob. I raised that thing way up, but then I used the outer ring to move that frequency way down, and it gets me this fuzzy, boxy, lo-fi, ripped speaker kind of thing that I think you're really going to enjoy. Quite a few possibilities, and that's just with one guitar with the pedal all by itself. Is the world ready for a 9-knob distortion pedal? Does anyone even get the reference that, well, in addition to being the name of my friend's clothing and record label, follow them on Instagram, Boneshaker was the name of an oldie-timey bicycle, then called a velocipede, hence this little guy on the front of the pedal right here, even though it's more of a penny farthing than anything. Anyway, my point is, here's something different. There's a lot of moving parts on this pedal. It's not a straight-up clone of something that's really hot right now. At least not that I know of. And not for nothing, but DOD has been putting out a few killer pedals that a lot of people are sleeping on. I'm just saying, there's still time to get a gunslinger before Josh does a video about it. As of early 2022, these are Well, it looks like they're just recently out of production, but they're still pretty easy to find in all the usual places. How about one more quick demo, and then we call it? Hey, before you skip to your next video, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel, follow me on Instagram, Stompbox Breakdown, and I'll catch you on the next one.